In the Torah reading for Chag HaShavuot, we'll read one of the most celebrated drashot in all of the Torah. Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar. Commenting on the singular nature of the verb Vayichan, Rashi, quoting the Mechilta, says the famous words, Ki ish echad belev echad. The Jewish people came to Har Sinai with a certain unity. But when we push past the platitudes and the cliche, what exactly does this mean? What does an encampment of the united Jewish people actually look like? So maybe to help us better understand what this means at Har Sinai, we can look at a different encampment, one that's described in this week's Parashat Bemidbar. At the very end of the first parak of Bemidbar, the Torah says, "V'chanu b'nei Yisrael, ish al machanehu, v'ish al degel litzivosam." And just a few psukim later, in the beginning of parak bet, ish al degel be'osos, leveis avosam yachanu b'nei Yisrael, mineged saviv le'ohel moed yachanu. This is commonly understood as the Jewish people encamped around the Mishkan, underneath each of their tribal flags. The word degel, because of our sensitivity to modern Hebrew, we understand as a flag. And by the way, you can hear the linguistic similarities between this encampment of Yachanu b'nei Yisrael mineged saviv le'ohel moed, that b'nei Yisrael camped mineged the ohel moed, in a very similar fashion to Vayachanu sham Yisrael neged hahar. When we start to look at the Mefarshim on the psukim in Bemidbar, we quickly realize that our understanding of the word degel as flag cannot be accurate. Firstly, Ibn Ezra says, Ta'am ish al deglo, the explanation of ish al deglo, is shelo yisarev shevet degel im shevet degel. It's a very strange thing to say. First of all, we know of no prohibition of one tribe intermingling with one of the others. And if we understood as degel, how exactly would you intermingle or mix one flag with another? What is the prohibition that Ibn Ezra is attributing to the psukim here in Bemidbar? And similarly, Rashi's comment on Pasuk Bet is also equally strange. Rashi says that every degel had an ot mapa tzvua. Every degel had a colored fabric symbol. But wait a second, if degel is a flag, then the degel is the colored fabric symbol. What does it mean that each degel had a colored fabric symbol? So in order to better understand what the word degel actually means, we turn to the commentary of Shmuel David Lutzato, the noted linguist. And Shadal explains that in Tanakh, the word degel actually refers not to a flag or a fabric or a tangible sign, but rather to a distinct group of people who are part of a larger whole. So for example, it might refer to a specific division or a specific unit within a larger army. So degel is the distinct group of people. So for example, in Tehillim Chaf, every morning when we say Lam Natseach, when we say Uvishem Elokeinu Nidgol, what we're saying is that we make ourselves distinct from other nations by calling out in the name of Hashem. So now let's circle back quickly to Ibn Ezra. When Ibn Ezra says that there's a prohibition of shelo yisarev shevet degel im shevet degel, what it means is that each tribe had a unique nature and a unique set of characteristics that made it a distinct unit within the larger people. And says Ibn Ezra, it is actually forbidden to be mitarev. The word eruv, mitarev, really means to blur distinctions. That's why the word erev, of course, means the blurring of distinctions between day and night. And an eruv serves to blur the lines between private domains and join them into a larger whole. The Ibn Ezra says it's forbidden to blur the lines of distinction between the different Shvatim, because as we know from the various brachot of Yaakov and Moshe, each of the Shvatim brought something unique and something special to the Jewish people, and that uniqueness and the overall diversity that it fosters should not be diminished from the Jewish people. In his Sefer Emes Yaakov, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky affirms this notion and this approach, and he writes, Kol shevet v'shevet yesh lo tchuna o she'ifa miyuchedet, u'matarat ha'echad shoneh mimatarat hasheni. But then he adds something very beautiful. He says, the Jewish people have been traveling the desert for a year already at this point. Why haven't they been organized by degel up until this point? And he explains that there's one more element that's part of Jewish unity. The diversity on the one hand, yes, but there has to be a certain commonality that lies at the center of the Jewish people. And therefore he explains that on Aleph Nisan Hukam HaMishkan, the Mishkan representing Hashem is erected in the middle on the 1st of Nisan. And therefore, on the 1st of the second month, B'chodesh Hasheni, that's when Bnei Yisrael get the commandment to organize themselves by degalim. Once there's a common center, then there's value in the diversity that surrounds it, and that's what completes the picture. And so, because Parashat Bemidbar is mandated to be read every year before Shavuot, we can use the understanding of Jewish unity and encampment that's described in Parashat Bemidbar, a diversity of different voices and different perspectives, all organized around a common theme and a common center. And so as we approach Shavuot and we recreate the encampment of Bnei Yisrael at Har Sinai, Ki'ish Echad B'Lev Echad, we recreate the Matan Torah experience of Har Sinai by celebrating a diverse Jewish people consisting of different groups, different factions, each of whom has a different matara and she'ifa, but all of whom have looked to the center, organized around the center of Am Yisrael, Torat Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael. And when we do that, we bring to mind the beautiful description of the Aruch HaShulchan in his introduction to Choshen Mishpat, when he writes, Zotit Tiferet Toratenu HaKdosha VeHaTehora, Chol HaTorah Kula Nikreit Shira, V'Tiferet HaShir Hi Kishehakolot Mishunim Zeh Mizeh, V'Zehu Ikar HaNi'imut. That the beauty of song and music is appreciated at its greatest glory when you have different voices, all of whom are singing the same song. Shabbat Shalom v'Chag Sameach.